With the sealed ball beginning to open, Shin tries to get Gohan to flee, but he refuses and tries to blast it to stop Buu from awakening. When the ball is knocked away from this blast and then splits in half, it is seemingly empty. However, Gohan then notices the monstrous ki growing above them, which is when they see the smoke from the sealed ball. It slowly gathers together and forms into Majin Buu, as he has now been awoken. After he finished forming, they weren't sure if it was him, but Shin confirms that this is Majin Buu. Meanwhile, back with Goku and Vegeta, they were still trying to fight off Kale. Even with Goku in his Super Saiyan 3 form, they were struggling, so they were getting beaten down. However, 18 would then arrive, since after she sensed Kale's ki becoming different than normal, she used an instant transmission to go ahead of Trunks and Goten to see what was wrong with Kale. This is when 18 would see Kale in her Berserk form, and even though she wouldn't completely know what was happening, she would likely realize that Kale was in herself right now. So, she tried to get in between Kale and the others to try and talk her out of this rampage. At first, her words would seemingly be working on Kale, which is when Goku and Vegeta use this opportunity to catch her off guard and knock her out, similar to how Vegeta knocked Goku out in the actual timeline. While then knocking Kale out might briefly bother 18 at first, after being told how she was under Babidi's control, she would understand why they did it. With Kale now knocked unconscious, Goku would be able to notice Buu's energy, so he tries to get Vegeta to stop their fight. Regardless, back with Buu and Babidi, the pink creature didn't listen to Babidi. Then when Dabura starts to insult Buu, he goes up to Dabura to fight him, which he then quickly pokes Dabura in his eyes, blinding him, as Buu then kicks him away. The level of power that Buu possesses manages to impress Babidi, as he had no clue how strong Buu was. While Vegeta and Goku were continuing to fight, 18 would have flown off towards Buu to help with their fight. Goku was still distracted by Majin Buu being awoken, and after pointing out that everyone will die and that he still loves Bulma and Trunks, Vegeta relents to take on Buu. Vegeta then asks Goku for his sensu beans, so that he can give one to Kale and take one for himself, since they would need all the power they could get. Goku would agree, and when he goes to get them, he drops his guard, so Vegeta knocks him unconscious like they did to Kale. He then takes a sensu bean for himself and gives one to Kale, and even though this heals her, she doesn't regain consciousness right away. Back with Babidi, he threatened to steal Buu away, so the genie finally starts to listen to him. He then orders Buu to kill Shin and Gohan, so they try to flee, but Buu easily catches up to them. Buu would then start beating them down, as they don't stand a chance against him. When Babidi and Buu were about to finish off Shin, Gohan kicked Buu away from him. Buu then blasts Gohan away, and Shin uses the last of his energy to make the blast explode in midair, so that Gohan isn't sent further away, as he then falls to the ground. Regardless, Babidi then ordered Buu to kill Shin, but they are interrupted by Buu being stabbed through the gut with the Bora's spear, as he managed to survive. By this time, Kale would have regained her consciousness, as she then senses the ki of Buu. Anyway, 18 then arrives at the battlefield, as she hides behind the nearby mountains to scope things out first. Goten and Trunks would then arrive shortly afterwards, so they hide behind the mountains as well. Once Kale sensed the ki of Goten and Trunks nearby, she used an instant transmission to teleport beside them, as she hid with them too. Though, Goten and Trunks still spot the statues of Krillin and Piccolo, as Trunks then accidentally knocks a statue of Piccolo over. Back with Buu, he easily pulls a spear from his stomach, much to the shock of the Bora. Then with Vegeta, he contemplates destroying Babidi's ship, as he then realizes Gohan's ki disappeared. Since he thinks Gohan died, he apologizes to himself, as it was his fault this happened. Anyway, Buu then approaches the Bora and uses magic to turn the Bora into a cookie. He then eats it, which causes Krillin to go back to normal, with Piccolo having regenerated after being turned back to normal too. When Babidi then ordered Buu to eat Shin as well, Piccolo was going to rush in there, but he is talked out of it by the others. This is when Babidi's spaceship explodes, confusing the Warlock about who done this. The smoke then clears to reveal Vegeta standing there, as he says he blew up Babidi's ship. When he then called Buu a repugnant creature, which Babidi explained meant that he called him ugly, he gets mad and goes to fight Vegeta. Since he was disobeying orders, Babidi allows this, so the genie approaches Vegeta. At first, he would be pummeling Buu, which just angers the genie, so he uses his angry explosion. This injures Vegeta and forces Babidi to use a force field to survive the blast. Regardless, Vegeta then gets back to his feet to continue fighting with Majin Buu. Buu then separates a piece from himself and wraps it around Vegeta, as he then starts to pummel him. This angers Trunks, so he turns Super Saiyan and flies in, as Goten does the same. Trunks kicks away Buu, while Goten then unwraps Vegeta from the piece of Buu. As Babidi was watching this go on, Piccolo appeared behind them. Once Piccolo threatened to kill him, Babidi said that if he does that, he couldn't seal Buu, so he'd go on to destroy the Earth. Though he then points out that it wouldn't be any different if he kept Babidi alive, so he slices the Warlock in half with his arm. Vegeta then tells Trunks to flee and take care of his mother, but this just confuses his son. He then gives Trunks a hug, which was the first time since he was a child, as he then knocks him out with a chop to the neck. Goten then started to freak out, but Vegeta punched him in the stomach, knocking him unconscious as well. Piccolo would then approach Vegeta, as they both notice Buu approaching them. Vegeta tells Piccolo to take Goten and Trunks away from there, as Piccolo then asks if he plans to die there. He indirectly answers the question by asking if he'd see Kakarot in the afterlife, but Piccolo tells him the truth that he killed too many innocent people, so his soul won't go to the same place as Goku's. Regardless, he then has Piccolo leave with the two boys, as Buu then tries to blast them down. However, he stops Buu from doing so by yelling out to him that his fight is with him, as he then insults Buu. As Piccolo was flying away, he told Krillin, Kale, and 18 to hurry up and follow him, so they fly with him too. Back with Vegeta, he started to charge his energy. However, he goes beyond just charging the final atonement. With Vegeta now knowing about the Super Saiyan 3 form, he might try to unlock this form for himself. With his rage fueling him, and Babidi's sorcery still pulling out his inner power, he likely would be able to unlock this form. It would take a while though, with him yelling for a while. His hair would slowly get longer, as more sparks appear around him. Eventually, with one final yell, his transformation would finish, with his hair reaching down below his back. As the heroes continued flying away, Krillin would ask what Vegeta is doing, which is when Piccolo mentions he's finally fighting for someone other than himself, though he is also sacrificing himself in the process, as Vegeta then says goodbye to Bulma, Trunks, and even Kakarot. As he then uses the final atonement, he is engulfed in a giant blast, with it seemingly engulfing Buu too. After it dissipates, an ash figure of Vegeta remains, but it then falls to the ground and crumbles, with the wind blowing the remnants of it away. Piccolo then gives Goten and Trunks to Krillin and tells them to pass on the news about both Vegeta and Gohan's demise. He, 18, and Kale then return to where Vegeta sacrificed himself to see if he successfully killed Majin Buu. When he arrives, they see that Babidi was still alive, so Piccolo went to finish him off. Before he could, Buu started to reform, as even though Vegeta was a Super Saiyan 3 this time, Buu just barely managed to survive. Kale and 18 then tell Piccolo that they'll hold off Buu, as they aren't sure if Goku is still alive, so they believe that they are the Earth's best chance now. But before Piccolo leaves, he does finish off Babidi and takes off. As Buu then completely reforms, Kale and 18 would prepare to take him on together, with Kale turning into her Super Saiyan 2 form right away. Meanwhile, Shin would then find Gohan, but he collapsed before he could heal him. Then with Goku, he finally regained consciousness, as he then eats the last senzu bean he had to regain his energy. Normally, he would teleport to the lookout to meet up with the other heroes, but this time, he would notice Kale's energy near where Buu was, so he would teleport them so that he could help in the fight against Buu. As to not drain too much energy, Goku would go to his Super Saiyan 2 form, as he then helped Kale and 18 in their fight against Buu. While they would get some hits in, they wouldn't stand a chance against the genie. However, as Kale and 18 kept fighting Buu, they would notice a strange energy from deep within Buu. Since they learned the Force Spirit Fission technique on Yardrat, they would try to use it here. With the heroes at Capsule Corporation, Bulma and Yamcha would still summon Shenron and use the First Wish to revive anyone who died that day back to life, except evil people. After telepathically speaking to Goku, Piccolo would then speak telepathically to them, saying not to use the rest of the wishes yet, as the fight with Buu is still going on, and they might need them later. He would also have them bring the Dragon Balls up to the lookout. Anyway, the wish they did make ended up reviving Kibito, so he went and healed Shin. Afterwards, he then brought Kibito to Gohan to have him healed, but first he took him to the sacred world of the Kai. Once there, he is healed, so Shin tells him his plan of training him to use his Z-Sword to kill Buu. Kibito then changes his outfit to one like the Supreme Kai's, as they take him to the Z-Sword. Once there, he can't pull it out, so he eventually turns Super Saiyan to try. Once in this form, even though it is a struggle, he still manages to pull the sword out of the ground. On the lookout, since Popo wasn't sure how the Buu situation was going to end up, he'd still throw Dende down to Earth so that he would survive. Back with Buu, 18 and Kale's Force Spirit Fission would work, as the Grand Supreme Kai was then separated from Majin Buu. This would essentially cause Buu to become paralyzed. As he starts yelling, he'd get buffer and taller as he continued to yell, with him turning into his buff Buu form. Though, Kale and 18 would notice something else still deep within him, so they would try and use the Force Spirit Fission again. This time, it would separate the South Supreme Kai from buff Buu. As he starts to hold his head and goes back to screaming, buff Buu would now get shorter and thinner, as he reverted to his Kid Buu form. As usual, Kid Buu would try to destroy the Earth right away, with him managing to deflect his first blast. However, Buu then charges his planet burst, so Kale and 18 got ready to teleport away along with Goku. At the last second, Goku noticed Dende, so he had Dende grab on as well. Before they teleported away, Shin appeared and helped them escape, by teleporting them to the sacred world of the Kai. Kid Buu then destroyed the Earth, but he reformed himself after the explosion. He then managed to copy Shin's teleportation technique, so he teleported himself to the heroes. Just in case Goku, Kale, and 18 lost, Goku had Shin teleport himself, Kibito, Dende, and Gohan to another planet, so that Goku could finish his training. They would then prepare to fight, with Goku stepping up first, as he turned into his Super Saiyan 3 form again. Goku would seemingly be knocking Buu around, but because of his reckless fighting style, he would manage to get in some good hits as well. Even when Goku used the Kamehameha against Buu, it didn't work, as he then reformed himself again. Since Goku needed a minute to fully charge his power, Kale and 18 would step up to distract Buu. At first, Kale would charge at Buu and use a volley of blasts on him, but Buu would then teleport behind her. She would then be getting beaten down, as she wouldn't be able to land many hits on Buu because of his speed. Over time, she would drop back to her base form since she would be getting beaten down by Buu. Regardless, a minute has passed, but Goku had to drop down to his base form. If he stayed in Super Saiyan 3 for too much longer, he'd have to go back to Otherworld, which would leave Kale and 18 to deal with Buu. Kale would then speak telepathically to Dende, telling them to go to New Namek and get their Dragon Balls. So, Shin would teleport them there, as they didn't see that the Namekians were already gathered. Mori would say that they knew what was going on and had gathered the Dragon Balls, so Kale tells them their two wishes. The first is to restore the Earth, and the second one was to resurrect everyone who's died after the tournament except the bad guys. So, then they made these two wishes to Purunga, and he was able to grant them both. Since Kale didn't see any other option, and she had learned about Goku's Spirit Bomb technique from back on Namek, she would tell him to charge it up. When Dende didn't ask for the third wish, she said they didn't need it. When she asked how she can talk to all the Earthlings at once, King Kaido would interject to say that since Kale told Goku to use his Spirit Bomb technique, he'll help them talk to everyone. She then told them to raise their hands to the sky and share their energy, while Goku then raised his arms as well to gather their energy. However, they weren't listening to her, as they thought it could be a trick by Buu. Mostly, it would be the now revived heroes on the lookout on Earth giving their energy to Goku. They were hiding from Buu at this point, but he eventually spotted the Spirit Bomb, so he rushed towards them. Kale then got in the way to distract Buu, as she started getting pummeled by him. Goku then talked to the Earthlings, pleading for them to share their energy with him. This is when Bora and Upa shared their energy with Goku, as they recognized his voice. Even 17 decided to share his energy at this point, so that he could help out Goku and Kale. Out in Jingle Village, Sano and Android 8 recognized his voice too, so all of the village started sharing their energy as well. This made the Spirit Bomb slightly bigger, but not enough, as the Earthlings still didn't trust the voices they were hearing. However, since 18 was now the world champion, when she spoke to them asking why they won't help, they decided to listen to her. So, the Earthlings started to share their energy, since they thought they were giving it to her to fight Buu. Kale was still getting beaten down by this point, but when Goku finally got all the energy for the Spirit Bomb, he told Kale to run, but she couldn't since she was too weak at this time. So, while Goku hesitated to launch a Spirit Bomb, Kid Buu fired a blast at him, but he teleported out of the way. 18 then teleported in and took Kale, before teleporting out of the way, so Goku then launched a Spirit Bomb at Buu. However, he didn't have enough energy, so Kid Buu was able to hold it back. This is when Dende then speaks to Goku again, saying that they use the third wish to restore Goku's energy. So, as he then turns Super Saiyan, he gains enough power to send the Spirit Bomb at Kid Buu, disintegrating him. With Buu now dead, he drops back to his base form, then gives a thumbs up to Kale and 18. As Shin, Kibito, and Gohan teleport back to Goku and the others, 18 and Dende would start to heal Kale and Goku. After they are healed, Shin would then teleport them to the lookout. Goku would be shocked to see Vegeta there, but he would realize that King Yama must have decided he was a good enough person after his sacrifice to be included in the wish to revive everyone that died after the tournament. However, fortune teller Baba would then appear, telling Goku that he only has a little bit of time left, and that he should say his goodbyes now. They thought he had more time on Earth, but he would explain that him using Super Saiyan 3 drained his energy greatly. Also, since he wasn't revived by the Elder Kai giving him his life in exchange, he would be going back to Otherworld forever this time. Regardless, he would then say his goodbyes to everyone on the lookout. Before he left, he would talk to Piccolo briefly and ask him for one last favor. He still wants the younger generation to be the ones to take over, so he would want to teach a fusion dance to Goten and Trunks. He only has time to demonstrate it a couple of times, so he asks Piccolo to finish teaching the young boys the technique. He then gives Gohan, Goten, and Chi-Chi a hug, as he says goodbye to them. As he and Baba fly into the sky, he says goodbye to everyone else, and that he'll see them again when they die. Since the South Supreme Kai and Grand Supreme Kai were separated from Buu by Kale and 18, they would have their reunion with Shin on the lookout. However, the Grand Supreme Kai and South Supreme Kai would also talk to Kale and 18, as they suggest that they should train with them someday. This would be their way of thanking them for splitting them from Buu, so Kale and 18 would likely agree. Though, they wouldn't go there right away, as they want to have a moment of relaxation after their fight with Buu. The Supreme Kais understand this, so they would go back to talking with Shin and Kibito. With Goku leaving the Earth in the hands of the next generation, Gohan would return to the Sacred World of the Kai with Shin to finish his training there, which, since Goku can teleport there while on the other world, he would likely go there still. Goku still wanted to test out the strength of the Z-Sword, so Shin suggests testing it against Kachin, the strongest metal in the universe. It still breaks and releases Elder Kai, which shocks Shin and Kibito, as he then says he was stealing the Z-Sword by someone almost as terrible as Buu. Anyway, he might still offer to unlock Gohan's potential as part of his training. They might not have to bribe him with meeting Bulma in this timeline, since Majin Buu is already killed. Goku might not blast him to test his power. Regardless, as Gohan is finishing his training on the Sacred World of the Kai, back on Earth, the heroes would be saying their goodbyes to each other as well. So, Kale and 18 will then return home together, as they go and relax like they wanted to.